Hello everyone, Andrew Van Leeuwen from Speed Cafe here. Clearly I'm not on the ground at Sandown, but someone that is Speed Cafe's managing editor, Stefan Bartholomaeus. Stefan, how is it there in Sandown?
Andrew, at the track this morning, some nice sunshine, pretty brisk conditions though, but it's certainly the racetrack to be at this weekend.
Is it going to, I know this is a fraught question when you're in suburban Melbourne, but is it going to stay dry for the weekend? How's the weather forecast actually looking?
Oh, there's a little bit of everything on the forecast, which is typical Sandown, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, we've had a pretty fun build-up to the race. I got to say, like that Thomas Randall livery, the throwback to the... I'm calling it the throwback to the Celica World Rally cars from the early 90s. That's when I was first exposed to that livery. That just looks so cool, that car.
Yes, of course, it's not actually officially Supercars Retro Round, but the teams and sponsors are free to do so if they wish, and Castrol really nailed it with that car. We've seen just here this morning, the Penrite guys, Grove Racing, have unveiled Alan Moffat 50th anniversary tribute back to the Brute 33 Falcon. So, yeah, that looks really cool, and a couple other teams changing colours as well.
All right, let's crack into who we think can actually win this race. Now, I think if we're talking about who can go out and win the race on pace, as in stick the car on pole position, drive away with it, actually win the thing purely on speed, to me, there's 5 contenders, and that would be the 2 888 cars, the lead Walkinshaw entry of Chaz Mostert and Lee Holdsworth, the lead Tickford entry of Cam Waters and James Moffat, and the, I guess you'd say, lead Grove entry of Matt Payne and Garth Tanner as well. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly, we always say, like the 888 cars, you can be pretty sure they'll be there or thereabouts, especially at a track like this and these long endurance races. They tend to execute very well, but they haven't really done a lot of winning lately. That Will Brown Scott Pye combination looks so strong, especially with Scott coming off of full-time driving in the recent past. But like Will hasn't won a race since Topor back in April. So we've seen a lot of Mustangs win races lately.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing I probably have with the 87 is that, you know, Will Brown is leading the championship, and I don't care what drivers say about not thinking about the championship till after Bathurst or whatever. Clearly that has to be something that's on his mind. I mean, these are big points races. These are the races that can lose you the championship if you get it wrong and you don't score on race day. I mean, I know everyone wants to win the Sandown 500. I know everyone wants to win the Bathurst 1000, but you can kind of win those races any year in your career when you're building towards a championship. Surely that has to be a factor in these races for that car.
Yeah, it has to be. I'm sure they'll say that it's not, but it's a factor for all of those top guys. Like it's a big opportunity for a Brock Feeney or a Chaz Mostert to climb back and get some points back when it's 300 points for just one race.
Yeah, absolutely. And their strategy has to be going for it, right? Like they're trying to run the guy down. Does that give maybe those cars an advantage over the 87?
We'll see. I mean, having a fast car and 2 really good drivers like the 87's got is a pretty good recipe. But there's a few new things, obviously, with the race this year, starting with the fact that the primary drivers have to start the race, which has been a big talking point.
What's your take on that one? I'm pretty sure you sit on the less rules are better side of the debate, don't you?
Oh, for sure. And it's been a pretty unpopular rule universally, I think, but especially with the co-drivers. Clearly, supercars want the stars in at the start of their biggest events, most importantly Bathurst next month. But yeah, like I was speaking to Garth Tanner about this morning, and he feels like it's going to make it a really boring race because everyone is just going to do the same strategy, and it's going to take the co-drivers sort of out of it a little bit in terms of, yeah, they'll just do a couple of little stints there and be out of the way.
With all that in mind, perhaps it's not going to be the year that we see a dark horse get up and win the thing, but let's pick one each anyway. Who do you like as a bit of a roughie heading into Sunday's race?
I think when you look at the driver combinations, Brodie Kostecki and Todd Hazelwood, again, Todd is another driver that's come off of full-time driving in the recent past, and then he even had 2 rounds, of course, famously at the start of the year in that Erebus Camaro. So I think if they can get all their ducks in a row, that car is a bit of a roughie. And I think as well that premiere with James Golding and David Russell, of course, D-Russ was second at both Sandown and Bathurst with Erebus last year, and he adds a bit to that team.
It's incredible a year on that we're considering Brodie Kostecki in an Erebus car as a roughie at one of these races, not as an absolute standout favourite, but that's kind of where we've got to this year. I think as a roughie, I'm going to go with a former Sandown 500 winner in Richie Stanaway. Paired with Dale Wood, incredibly experienced, still does a lot of racing in Carrera Cup, more than capable of getting the job done. We know Richie can be quick there. He seems to enjoy these long distance races. And if he does fancy sort of keeping a full-time spot in the sport, these are a really important couple of races coming up for him. So if the Groves are on, obviously, you know, we've already said that we think the 19 is going to be right up there and a genuine contender, but I think the 26 can be a bit of a roughie as well.
I think that's a great shout because it's easy to forget that Richie has been going to so many of these racetracks this year for the first time in 5 years since he was last a full-time driver. And the only place before Sandown that he's gone to this year that he's had recent experience of course, was Bathurst in February, where he was in the top 4 in one of those races up there. So, yeah, I think that's a good shout. He's one to watch.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating weekend. Of course, you can follow all of the action at speedcafe.com. We'll have all the news and reaction and live updates thanks to Mobile One as well. So keep an eye on all of that. Stefan, you have a great weekend at the track. I think it's going to be a good one.
And I hear you're going to another racetrack this weekend, Andrew.
I'm going to go to Wanneroo on Sunday. It's not quite the Sandown 500, but I'm going to jump in the Formula Ford and do my best there.
Go well.